I've been around this a long time. And when the big one happens,
It just happens.
it just happens.
Well, I think there's also a little debate because you had Denny blaming Bubba, and then
Well, that didn't happen till he got home. But like, as soon as this wreck happened,
Something shocking just happened on the track, and nobody saw it coming. 17 cars crashed in a giant mess. Fans were stunned. Drivers were yelling. The whole race changed in seconds. People rushed to blame someone, but right when things got loud, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said something that stopped everyone cold. What happened next left the NASCAR world speechless. August 24th, 2025. Daytona International Speedway. The Coke Zero Sugar 400 had barely begun when chaos struck. On lap 27, Bubba Wallace was running in heavy traffic when Kyle Larson gave him a bump from behind. At first glance, it looked like a standard Superspeedway push. But 1 second later, cars were spinning, metal was flying, and 17 drivers were caught in one of the season's biggest wrecks. The crash changed everything. Playoff contenders were taken out, pit crews scrambled, and social media exploded. Within minutes, blame poured in from all sides. Some said Wallace overcorrected, others said Larson's bump was reckless. Then the conversation took a familiar turn. The NASCAR community wanted someone to blame, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. wasn't having it. On his podcast, Dale Jr. Download, he made his frustration clear. The big one, who's to blame for the wreck? Why is everybody so wanting to blame somebody for this sucks? It's just a wreck. That quote spread like wildfire across NASCAR circles. Fans reposted it. News outlets printed it. But for Dale Jr., it wasn't just a soundbite. It was a message about the culture around the sport. He wasn't defending bad driving. He wasn't ignoring the damage. He was saying that wrecks, especially at Daytona and Talladega, are part of the deal. They happen. And not every wreck needs a villain. I've been around this shit a long time, he added. And when the big one happens, it just fucking happens.
I've been around this a long time. And when the big one happens,
It just happens.
it just happens.
well, I think there's also a little debate because you had Denny blaming Bubba, and then
Well, that didn't happen till he got home. But like, as soon as this wreck happened,
To understand Dale Jr.'s point, you need to understand superspeedway racing. At tracks like Daytona, cars run inches apart at speeds near 200 miles per hour. A push, a tap, or a missed call from a spotter can start a chain reaction instantly. There's no room for mistakes, and sometimes there's no way to avoid them. That's what happened here. Larson gave Wallace a bump. Wallace's car got loose. The rest of the field never had a chance. Wallace's spotter, Freddie Kraft, didn't try to dodge responsibility. He admitted the mistake immediately over the team radio. I fucked up by not telling Bubba we were 3 wide. It was a costly error. But Dale Jr. still didn't believe it was reason enough for the firestorm that followed. As criticism piled up on Bubba Wallace, including comments from drivers like Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr. stood his ground. He knew how quickly the narrative could spiral, and he pushed back against it hard.
well, I think there's also a little debate because you had Denny blaming Bubba, and then
well, that didn't happen till he got home. But like, as soon as this wreck happened, like, there's been this sort of conversation that started immediately, like, whose fault was it? We got to find somebody. We got to settle this.
Yeah, well, I don't...
He reminded listeners that crashes like this are often the result of tight racing conditions, not reckless decisions. And he said that immediately pointing fingers after every incident isn't helping the sport. I just don't understand the obsession with finding someone to blame, he said. That's not how I learned this sport. That's not how my dad looked at it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has lived through more than most in NASCAR. He knows what these wrecks mean. He's been caught in them. He's seen what they do to drivers and teams, and he's seen what happens when the focus shifts from understanding to outrage. This time, he said, the outrage felt louder, faster, more toxic. I don't know that we need to be, so it's just like this fucking insistent on, he said. Do you not see that? It's like as we're going through time, right? As we're evolving, like we're having to be more, there's this insistence to like, this was his fault, or this was this person's fault on everything. That quote summed up his entire position. No agenda, no PR filter, just honesty from someone who's seen it all. The media picked up Dale Jr.'s message quickly. On 3 called it unfiltered and blunt. Essentially, sports spotlighted the 3 words that echoed across the NASCAR world. It just happens. BVM Sports took a deeper look at his criticism of what they called the blame culture. They said Dale Jr. was trying to steer the conversation away from knee-jerk outrage and back toward the reality of racing. The Express described the podcast segment as a fiery rant, but one grounded in respect for the sport. Their coverage emphasized that Earnhardt wasn't trying to excuse the wreck, he was trying to put it in perspective. And in all the reports, the same theme kept coming back. Wrecks are part of NASCAR. You can analyze them, you can learn from them, but trying to pin them on one driver every time is a waste. For Dale Jr., this isn't just about Wallace or Daytona. It's about what kind of sport NASCAR is becoming. He talked about the pressure on drivers now. Every move is caught on camera, every mistake becomes a headline, and every wreck becomes a witch hunt. You can't build trust in this sport if everyone's just waiting to throw blame the moment something goes wrong, he said. He urged fans and media alike to step back and remember what this sport is. A sport built on risk, on inches, in moments you can't take back. That risk was on full display at Daytona. The wreck took out some of the field's biggest names. For some teams, it ended playoff hopes. For others, it created a mountain to climb. But Dale Jr. made it clear that it shouldn't become a war of narratives. This wasn't about reputation. It wasn't about defending or attacking drivers. It was about telling the truth. And the truth is that sometimes, even with the best drivers and the best spotters, things go wrong. It's not about not holding people accountable, he said. It's about knowing when accountability makes sense and when it's just part of the game. What Dale Earnhardt Jr. did with his comments wasn't just talk, it was leadership. In a moment where the NASCAR world was ready to explode with hot takes and judgment, he reminded everyone that this is a sport, not a courtroom. His words weren't scripted, they weren't packaged, they were real. And that's why they resonated with fans, with former drivers, with the media, with teams. It just happens became the phrase that defined the moment not as an excuse, but as a reminder. The next few weeks in NASCAR will be intense. The playoffs are coming, the pressure will build, and more wrecks will happen. That's a guarantee. What's not guaranteed is how the NASCAR world will respond to them. Will it be more finger-pointing, more blame? Or will Dale Jr.'s message land? It's not about protecting feelings, it's about protecting the sport. And Dale Jr. made it clear, if we lose sight of the difference between racing and recklessness, we lose something bigger. Dale Jr.'s legacy has always been more than trophies. He's been a voice for drivers, a bridge between generations, a champion for safety, and now, a protector of the sport's soul. His stand after Daytona was simple but powerful. He saw the wreck, he saw the reaction, and he said what most drivers were thinking but didn't say out loud. Stop rushing to blame. Start trying to understand. Because when 17 cars go sliding across Daytona at 190 miles per hour, it's not always someone's fault. Sometimes it's just the price of going fast. And in that moment, Dale Jr. said exactly what NASCAR needed to hear.